business. And he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Diddy, one of the most influential figures in modern music and entertainment, has built a legacy over the past several decades. Known for his entrepreneurial spirit, he's a household name whose impact goes far beyond his records. Yet behind all the success lies a horror story of a man who seems to be as depraved as he is unhinged. Today, as Diddy faces the most serious challenges of his life, a long-forgotten video of him and Jaden Smith has come back to life, threatening to reveal everything. What does this video contain? Join us to find out. Context for the Jaden Smith video. Newly surfaced footage of Sean Diddy Combs and Jaden Smith at a private party has sparked major conversation online. People are talking about Diddy's long-standing influence in hip-hop and how this connects to Jaden Smith's career and personal life. Diddy is well known for throwing lavish parties, sometimes stirring up controversies with the types of gatherings he hosts. Jaden, known for his unique style and introspective nature, has been seen with Diddy before, but this new video has led many to wonder about the deeper connections between them. The party, combined with Jaden's emotional state in the footage, has raised questions about what may be going on behind the scenes and why young people linked with Diddy sometimes appear to drift away from him. And that's just the start of it. The video, showing Jaden Smith in tears, has sparked widespread conversation online, especially on Twitter. In the clip, Jaden appears visibly emotional, and this moment quickly became the center of various speculations involving his connections to Justin Bieber and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. An initial post from a user on X, formerly Twitter, suggested troubling details about Justin Bieber's early career, hinting at interactions with Diddy when Bieber was still a teenager. The post included a segment from around 4 years ago in which Diddy is seen alongside a young Bieber, promising him one of his luxury cars upon turning 18. This interaction has since raised questions about the implications of such exchanges, especially given the age difference and the influence involved. Despite these circulating stories, the suggestion that Jaden's emotional video relates to Diddy's gatherings has no foundation in reality. The rumor gained momentum after an ex-user made unsubstantiated claims, alleging that Jaden had been forced into uncomfortable situations at events supposedly hosted by Diddy. Josh's post went further, alleging that Jaden's father, Will Smith, had even pressured his son into these scenarios, often called freak-off parties. The user's tweet insinuated that these events had long been surrounded by speculation. However, it is critical to emphasize that these accusations lack any credible evidence. In actuality, the video of Jaden was taken months prior to these rumors surfacing. Originally posted by Jaden himself on Instagram in February, the video was shared as a message to his supporters, expressing gratitude and reflecting on their shared journey. The video in question has obviously gone on to become a point of intense scrutiny within the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry's power structure has long operated on complex and often unspoken rules of social engagement. Young artists, particularly those seeking to establish themselves independently of family connections, frequently find themselves navigating a labyrinth of industry expectations and unwritten protocols. These gatherings, often presented as casual social events or networking opportunities, carried implicit professional weight that could make attendance feel less like a choice and more like an obligation. The relationship between the Smith family and Diddy adds another layer of complexity to this situation. Will Smith's position as both an industry veteran and friend to Diddy created a unique dynamic that potentially complicated his role as a protective parent. The entertainment industry often blurs the lines between professional relationships and personal friendships, creating situations where objective judgment can become clouded by years of shared experiences and mutual business interests. The atmosphere at these industry gatherings has come under increased scrutiny as more former attendees step forward with their accounts. These testimonies paint a picture of an environment where the line between professional networking and personal discomfort often became blurred. Young artists describe feeling trapped in a system where expressing discomfort or declining invitations could be interpreted as career-limiting moves, potentially affecting not just their own opportunities, but also their families' industry relationships. The video's journey from its initial release to its current re-examination reflects broader shifts in how the entertainment industry addresses power dynamics and personal boundaries. When first shared, the footage was widely interpreted through a lens of mentorship and gratitude, a young artist overwhelmed by support from an industry veteran. However, its recent resurgence has prompted deeper questions about the nature of these interactions and the potential vulnerability of young artists in industry social settings. What once might have been dismissed as typical industry networking is now being examined with greater awareness of how professional pressure can impact personal boundaries, especially for younger artists navigating complex industry relationships. And it just keeps getting messier for Diddy. Diddy's pattern of questionable associations. Diddy's career has been marked by a string of close relationships with young artists that, upon closer examination, display unsettling dynamics, suggesting exploitation masked as mentorship. One of the most publicized examples is his connection with a young Justin Bieber. At a time when Bieber was navigating fame's intense pressures, Diddy extended what seemed like generous gestures, extravagant gifts, parties, and promises of even greater luxuries. These gestures culminated in a notorious offer, a luxury vehicle waiting for Bieber when he turned 18. What once looked like support and encouragement now appears troublingly manipulative, a classic tactic used by those in power to control and bind young talent. These relationships with young artists like Bieber were not isolated incidents, but part of a larger systemic pattern that Diddy seemed to employ repeatedly. He identified promising new talent, showered them with attention, gifts, and the allure of his prestigious lifestyle, creating a sense of indebtedness and emotional dependency. According to former associates, these young talents were strategically isolated from friends, family, and other potential support systems that could counteract Diddy's influence. Many of them were made to feel unique, hand-picked for their potential, and in on a secretive, privileged world. However, the attachment these young artists developed toward him would, over time, become more about dependence than camaraderie, limiting their ability to forge independent careers. The historical context of the music industry further exacerbates the troubling nature of these associations. In the 1990s and early 2000s, powerful figures in the music industry often operated with unchecked authority. The lack of social media, public scrutiny, and the #Me Too movement meant that behaviors and practices now viewed as exploitative were simply accepted. Figures like Diddy held careers in the balance, wielding tremendous power to make or break young artists. This power imbalance was dangerous. Young artists, often desperate to succeed, found themselves silenced by an unspoken understanding. Falling out of favor with Diddy could mean the end of their professional aspirations. As the years passed, industry insiders and observers began noting an unsettling trend in the career trajectories of young artists associated with Diddy. Some, after brief periods of intense collaboration, faded into obscurity, while others went through dramatic shifts in style, public persona, or behavior. The high-pressure influence Diddy exerted left a mark on these artists, whether through burnout, loss of creative control, or shifting personal identities. While many of these transformations went unquestioned at the time, recent investigations and testimonies shed light on how these young talents' lives and careers may have been subtly and sometimes permanently altered by Diddy's presence. The industry at large also shares responsibility for enabling these dynamics. Managers, agents, and even family members encouraged young artists to maintain close ties with Diddy, believing that his influence was a gateway to success. In their pursuit of fame, they overlooked warning signs, prioritizing opportunities over the emotional well-being of these artists. This industry-wide failure illustrates a deeper issue, a system that favors power and influence over protection and integrity. While Diddy's influence on young artists stands as a particularly visible example, it still represents a broader problem where vulnerability is often sacrificed at the altar of ambition. And in some cases, the exploitation goes so far, the consequences have to lead to criminal cases like you'll see. The recent federal investigation into P. Diddy. The federal investigation into Sean Diddy Combs represents one of the most significant probes into a music industry figure in recent history. The March 2024 raids by Homeland Security investigations on his properties in Los Angeles and Miami weren't just routine law enforcement actions. They were carefully orchestrated operations involving multiple federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and other authorities. These raids, executed with military precision, saw teams of agents descending on Combs' luxury residences simultaneously, preventing any potential destruction or concealment of evidence. The trajectory leading to these raids is particularly telling. Prior to the federal intervention, Combs faced a series of civil lawsuits, including high-profile allegations from former romantic partner Cassie Ventura, which was settled within 24 hours of filing. Additional lawsuits followed from other individuals, each adding layers to a narrative of alleged misconduct spanning decades. The rapid progression from civil suits to federal investigation suggests that law enforcement had been quietly building a case, possibly using information from these civil proceedings as investigative leads. The music industry's reaction to these developments has been earth-shaking. Combs, who built Bad Boy Entertainment from the ground up in the 1990s, has been a towering figure in hip-hop and popular culture for 3 decades. His influence extended far beyond music into fashion, spirits, and media, making him one of the most successful entertainment entrepreneurs of his generation. The investigation has forced many industry figures to reconsider their relationships with him, leading to a sort of informal exodus from his business ventures and social circles. Perhaps most striking is how the investigation has emboldened more individuals to speak out. Former associates, employees, and industry professionals who previously remained silent have begun sharing their experiences, though many still request anonymity due to fears of retaliation. These accounts often describe a similar pattern: initial promises of career advancement and inclusion in Combs' prestigious circle, followed by alleged exploitation and manipulation. The consistency across these testimonies, spanning different time periods and contexts, has caught investigators' attention. The financial dimension of the investigation adds another layer of complexity. Federal authorities are reportedly examining money trails, suggesting potential financial crimes that could include money laundering, tax evasion, or other economic offenses. This aspect of the investigation has led to scrutiny of Combs' vast business empire, including his various entertainment companies, brand partnerships, and investment ventures. The involvement of financial crimes experts suggests authorities are following the money as much as they're investigating personal conduct allegations. The parties and gatherings hosted by Combs, once considered coveted invitations in entertainment circles, are now being scrutinized in a new light. These events, often held at his homes or luxury venues, allegedly served as environments where power dynamics could be exploited. Young artists and industry professionals felt compelled to attend these gatherings to advance their careers, creating situations where professional opportunities became entangled with personal vulnerability. The legal battle lines being drawn illustrate the gravity of the situation. Combs has assembled an elite team of criminal defense attorneys with experience in high-profile federal cases. Meanwhile, those bringing allegations have retained equally formidable legal representation, including former federal prosecutors with expertise in complex criminal investigations. These legal preparations suggest both sides are preparing for a prolonged and intricate legal process that could potentially redefine accountability in the entertainment industry. The federal investigation into Diddy's operations reveals a complex web of financial transactions and personal conduct that spans multiple jurisdictions. Homeland Security's involvement suggests potential immigration violations or human concerns, while the presence of financial crimes investigators points to possible money laundering or tax evasion schemes. Search warrants executed at multiple properties indicate investigators are pursuing evidence of systematic criminal activity rather than isolated incidents. The coordination between federal agencies suggests a long-term investigation that may have been building evidence for months or years before the public raids. Sources close to the investigation describe a pattern of behavior that allegedly violated multiple federal statutes. Financial records under scrutiny reveal complex networks of shell companies and offshore accounts used to move money between various business ventures. These arrangements, while not inherently illegal, became suspicious when matched with witness testimonies about how funds were actually used. Investigators are particularly interested in cash transactions and unusual payment patterns that could indicate attempts to evade reporting requirements. Witness cooperation has proven crucial to the investigation, with multiple former associates providing detailed accounts of allegedly criminal conduct. These witnesses include former employees, business partners, and individuals who attended private events at Diddy's properties. Their testimonies reportedly corroborate each other on key details, strengthening the investigation's foundation. Digital evidence has become a central focus, with investigators analyzing communications across multiple platforms and devices. The sophistication of the alleged criminal enterprise required extensive coordination, leaving digital trails that now provide valuable evidence. Encrypted communications and deleted messages have been recovered, revealing conversations that allegedly detail criminal activities. This investigation has sparked broader conversations about power, accountability, and reform in the music industry. Many see this as a potential watershed moment, similar to how the #Me Too movement transformed Hollywood. The scrutiny of Combs' alleged behavior has led to wider discussions about systemic issues within the music business, including the vulnerability of young artists, the role of power dynamics, and the industry's historical reluctance to address misconduct allegations. This ongoing investigation continues to evolve, with new details and allegations emerging regularly. Its resolution could have far-reaching implications, not just for Combs and his empire, but for the entire entertainment industry's approach to power, protection, and accountability. The unprecedented scale and scope of this federal investigation suggests that regardless of its outcome, it will likely serve as an important moment in both music industry history and the broader cultural conversation about accountability for powerful figures. And if true, it is unquestionable that Diddy has only been able to get away with all of these for so long with the aid of his powerful friends, like the ones we're about to show you. The surprising relationships with power figures. Diddy's associations with powerful figures, particularly Donald Trump, reflect a calculated approach to accumulating influence and protection. Their relationship, spanning decades, shifted conveniently with political winds. Early interactions showed Diddy praising Trump's business acumen and attending exclusive Mar-a-Lago events, suggesting a mutual understanding between two figures who prioritized image and power over substance. These relationships extended beyond mere social connections into complex business arrangements. Property deals, brand partnerships, and mutual investments created a web of financial interdependence that made scrutiny of either party more difficult. Documentation shows how these business ties often coincided with periods when both figures faced public criticism, suggesting a strategic alliance rather than genuine friendship. The political dimensions of these relationships reveal Diddy's skill at maintaining influential connections across party lines. While publicly advocating for progressive causes, he maintained quiet relationships with conservative power brokers who could provide business advantages or regulatory protection. This dual approach allowed him to present different faces to different audiences while maintaining access to power in all circles. His interactions with law enforcement officials and regulatory bodies show similar patterns of strategic relationship building. Former officials have described how Diddy's team would cultivate connections with key decision-makers, often through charitable donations or high-profile social events. These relationships created informal channels of influence that could be activated when legal or regulatory issues arose. Banking relationships and financial partnerships reveal another layer of power connections. Major financial institutions continued doing business with Diddy's enterprises despite red flags that might have caused concern with less connected clients. These banking relationships facilitated complex financial arrangements that now face renewed scrutiny under federal investigation. Now that it's all collapsing like a pack of cards, though, What does this mean for Diddy? Sean Combs' business empire under scrutiny. The rise and controversial nature of Sean Diddy Combs' business empire represents a complex intersection of entrepreneurial innovation and troubling business practices that have shaped both the music industry and broader American commerce. This shows the multifaceted nature of his business ventures and their impact on various stakeholders. The Uptown Records era marked the beginning of Diddy's controversial business practices. While officially portrayed as an amicable departure to form Bad Boy Records, internal documents and employee testimonies paint a more troubling picture. Former Uptown staffers, speaking on condition of anonymity, described an environment where intimidation became a management tool. One former executive assistant reported witnessing Diddy threatening to shut down careers of those who opposed his decisions. The pattern reportedly included unauthorized use of company resources to advance his personal projects and aggressive confrontations with fellow executives who questioned his methods. Bad Boy Records' financial structure became a blueprint for both success and exploitation in the music industry. The label's contracts typically included clauses that placed the burden of recording costs, marketing expenses, and even music video production onto the artists themselves. These expenses were then recouped from the artist's royalties, often at inflated rates. The Lox's public campaign to be released from their contract revealed that despite generating over $20 million in revenue, they remained in debt to the label due to various charges and fees. Mark Curry's detailed account in his memoir exposed how artists were charged for everything from studio time to promotional appearances, often at rates significantly above market value. The Sean John clothing line, while groundbreaking in bringing urban fashion to mainstream retail, operated under ethically questionable conditions. Investigations by labor rights organizations in Honduras and Bangladesh documented systematic issues in factories producing Sean John merchandise. Workers reported 14-hour shifts, temperatures exceeding safe working conditions, and wages below local living wage standards. While Diddy's representatives consistently denied these allegations, former quality control inspectors confirmed witnessing these conditions firsthand. The brand's rapid expansion appeared to prioritize profit margins over worker welfare, with production consistently moved to locations with weaker labor protections. Ciroc Vodka's marketing strategy revealed concerning patterns in alcohol industry targeting. Public health researchers documented how Ciroc's advertising disproportionately appeared in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods, often near schools and community centers. The brand's promotional events frequently occurred in areas with high rates of alcohol-related health issues. Marketing materials emphasized luxury lifestyle associations while downplaying health risks, a strategy that public health advocates argued specifically targeted vulnerable populations with limited access to healthcare resources. Revolt TV's internal operations exposed significant disparities between public messaging and private practices. Former employees described a workplace culture marked by irregular payment schedules, particularly for junior staff and freelancers. Editorial decisions reportedly favored coverage beneficial to Diddy's business interests, with documented instances of stories being killed or altered when they conflicted with his partnerships or relationships. Female employees reported facing particular challenges, with several describing a boys' club atmosphere that limited advancement opportunities. These patterns across multiple industries suggest a consistent prioritization of profit over ethical considerations. While Diddy's success in breaking barriers for Black entrepreneurs remains significant, the methods employed raise important questions about the cost of this success to employees, artists, and communities. His business practices have influenced a generation of entrepreneurs, potentially normalizing concerning approaches to labor relations and corporate responsibility. Each venture's success came with documented human costs. Artists who never recovered financially despite creating hit records, factory workers facing unsafe conditions, communities dealing with targeted alcohol marketing, and media professionals experiencing hostile work environments. These experiences challenge the traditional narrative of Diddy's empire as purely a success story of black entrepreneurship, suggesting instead a more complex legacy that merits critical examination. The effects of Bad Boy Records' business practices on artists created lasting financial and professional repercussions that extended far beyond their active recording years. Artists like Craig Mack, who created the label's first hit, Flava in Ya Ear, died in relative obscurity despite his crucial role in establishing the label's success. The label's accounting practices revealed a sophisticated system of financial obligations that kept artists indebted through multiple mechanisms. Recording costs were inflated far beyond industry standards. Artists reported being charged premium rates even for sessions that were ultimately unused. The notorious Big State, despite his enormous commercial success, faced years of complex accounting battles over royalty payments. Junior Mafia members reported receiving minimal compensation for their contributions to platinum-selling albums, with some members working regular jobs despite their music still generating streaming revenue. A particularly insidious practice involved cross-collateralization, where losses from one project could be recouped from earnings of another. Artists who released multiple albums found themselves unable to profit from successful releases because they were still paying for the marketing costs of previous ones. Faith Evans, despite multiple hit albums, described discovering substantial deductions for promotional expenses she had never approved. The psychological impact on artists was equally significant. Many reported developing anxiety and depression from the constant financial pressure and inability to audit their earnings effectively. Some, like Black Rob, faced severe health issues while struggling financially, unable to afford proper medical care despite having created hits that still generate revenue for the label. The treatment of workers across Diddy's various businesses revealed systematic labor issues that affected thousands of employees across multiple industries. In the Sean John manufacturing operations, workers reported particularly severe conditions. Factory employees in Honduras documented working in temperatures exceeding 37 degrees Celsius without adequate ventilation or breaks. Workers who attempted to organize for better conditions faced immediate termination, according to labor rights organizations that investigated the facilities. Revolt TV's workplace culture exemplified problems facing media industry workers. Staff members reported regular expectations of unpaid overtime, with junior employees particularly vulnerable to exploitation. Content producers described being pressured to work through weekends without compensation to meet demanding deadlines. The practice of hiring workers as independent contractors while treating them as full-time employees allowed the company to avoid providing benefits while maintaining strict control over their work schedules. Quality control inspectors at Sean John factories who raised concerns about working conditions found themselves quickly replaced. Several reported being blacklisted from similar positions in the industry after speaking out. The pattern extended to retail operations where store managers reported pressure to maintain profit margins by cutting staff hours while maintaining the same level of service, leading to widespread burnout. Diddy's business practices have had far-reaching effects on industry standards across multiple sectors. In the music industry, Bad Boy's contract structure became a template for other labels, normalizing the practice of passing virtually all business costs to artists while maintaining control over their creative output. This model influenced how many contemporary record labels structure their deals, particularly in hip-hop and R&B genres. The success of these exploitative practices encouraged other industry figures to adopt similar approaches. Artists signed to labels throughout the late 1990s and 2000s reported seeing contract terms that closely mirrored Bad Boy's structure, suggesting a broader industry shift toward more restrictive and financially burdensome agreements for artists. In fashion manufacturing, Sean John's ability to maintain profitability despite numerous labor complaints seemed to validate the prioritization of profit margins over worker welfare. Other urban fashion brands followed similar outsourcing patterns, contributing to a race to the bottom in manufacturing standards. The brand's success, despite public criticism of its labor practices, suggested to the industry that consumers would prioritize brand cachet over ethical concerns. Revolt TV's treatment of media workers has contributed to normalizing precarious employment conditions in digital media. The practice of using independent contractor status to deny benefits while demanding full-time availability has become increasingly common across digital media platforms. This has particularly affected young professionals entering the industry, who often face similar working conditions with limited recourse. The marketing strategies employed for Kairock Vodka influenced how other spirits brands approach urban market targeting. The aggressive promotion in economically disadvantaged areas, despite public health concerns, has been replicated by other alcohol brands seeking to establish market share in these communities. This has contributed to broader issues regarding ethical marketing practices in the beverage industry. These practices have created lasting effects on how business is conducted across these sectors. Young entrepreneurs often cite Diddy's methods as inspiration, potentially perpetuating problematic practices into the next generation of business leadership. The normalization of these approaches has made it more difficult for workers and artists to negotiate for better terms, as they're often told these conditions are industry standard. The impact extends to how success is measured in these industries. The focus on profit margins and market share over worker welfare and artist development has influenced how businesses are valued and how performance is evaluated. This has created challenges for companies attempting to implement more ethical business practices, as they often face pressure to match the profit margins achieved through more exploitative methods. This legacy raises important questions about responsibility in business leadership and the true costs of entrepreneurial success. While Diddy's empire demonstrated the possibility of building substantial wealth through multiple business ventures, it also illustrated how achieving such success often involved compromising ethical standards and worker welfare across multiple industries. And beyond Diddy himself, there are others who are being asked for answers. The music industry's response and fallout. The entertainment industry's response to allegations against Diddy reveals deeply ingrained patterns of protecting powerful figures until public pressure becomes overwhelming. Major labels, publishing companies, and media outlets maintained business relationships with Diddy long after initial allegations surfaced, only severing ties when federal investigations became public. Corporate partners' sudden distance from Diddy appears calculated rather than principled. Companies that previously celebrated their association with him now scrub their websites of his presence, suggesting they prioritize public relations over ethical considerations. This reactive, rather than proactive approach highlights how industry players often wait for public opinion to shift before taking moral stands. The impact on artists associated with Diddy has been severe and wide-ranging. Many face difficult decisions about whether to maintain loyalty to someone who helped their careers or distance themselves from potential criminal activity. Young artists particularly feel trapped between career preservation and moral obligations to speak out about witnessed misconduct. Record labels and production companies previously aligned with Diddy now face scrutiny over their own oversight practices. Questions arise about how much they knew or should have known about alleged misconduct and whether proper due diligence was conducted before entering business relationships. This examination extends to legal and financial advisors who facilitated various business arrangements. The broader music industry faces a potential reckoning over long-standing practices that enabled powerful figures to operate with minimal oversight. Trade organizations and industry bodies that previously celebrated Diddy must now come to terms with their role in legitimizing potentially criminal enterprises. This soul-searching extends to award shows, Hall of Fame institutions, and industry press that may have overlooked red flags, all in pursuit of access and advertising revenue. What do you think of the video that came back to life? Do you think Diddy is really as guilty as he looks? We would love to know in the comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.